Hello everyone, hello my beautiful souls, hello my lovely clients and my friends, old and new. In this video I'm going to be talking a lot about how crystals work, so even if you are not interested in having one-to-one therapies with me, this will be a really good video to see to the end if you're interested in crystals in general and how they work. But first of all, I am making this video just to reacquaint myself with you all, and talk through my services, a bit about my story for everyone that doesn't know me, and hopefully you'll have a better understanding about what I offer and how it works. If you are new to crystals, then the points of reference I'm going to go through in this video are going to be an amazing starting point for you to dive deeper into and research at your own pace. So please do watch it to the end. So I see a lot of different people. I do serve men and women, and I have done a few children. And if I had to pick one thing that really nailed my niche and represented it well, it would be loss. So I specialise in helping people through loss. So when someone goes through loss, there's usually a lot of trauma that equates the loss around the loss. So we're talking about grievance, divorce, breakups, relationships, not just romantic relationships, any type of a loss of relationship, loss of jobs, massive career blunders, loss of senses, loss of I can't walk, bodily things, anything to do with your health, and ultimately what that leads to is loss of the self. So when there's drastic change created, it creates an estrangement from yourself, and it generates a need for a new birth and a new identity. And particularly with my crystal transpersonal therapy, that is what it is designed to do. So when you go through these traumatic great losses in life, it's a really big opportunity to get to know yourself, to get to rebuild yourself in a more authentic way, and that's pretty much my story, and that is what helped me, pushed me along this path a bit more seriously. I've always been a lover of crystals, rocks, gemstones. I had a few oracle decks and didn't even realise they were oracle decks, because I like the artwork, things like that. So I had all this stuff around me for a long time, and it wasn't until I went through one of my darkest times that all of this kind of just became my new path and my life's mission. So what happened to me was loss. So I went through a breakup. So in that case, I lost my partner and my best friend. I also lost a pregnancy, and I had to go through that alone. I had major house issues at the time, so you could say I lost my home for, it was temporarily, but when you're sofa surfing, especially I think my son was about 2 at the time, it counts as a loss. A loss of self-esteem, loss of a lot of different things. So even though that might sound like not much to a lot of people, they've probably been through a lot worse, and I'm not disagreeing, but what it was such a consuming, overwhelming depression that even if someone had come and said, here's the keys to a house, it's paid for, you have a house again. Here, if my ex was like, I want to get back together, if I hadn't have lost that pregnancy, whatever, if it was all reversed, nothing would have changed the way I felt at that time, because I was already too far gone into this really dark space, this dark spiral. And one of the things that made it super hard was the lack of support that I had. So I think I don't have a good relationship with my parents. I did see a counsellor once or twice, and they told me that, reach out to your dad, because my mum was out of the country at the time, you'll be surprised, you know how families come together in times of crisis. So I do remember at a last attempt, even though I don't really feel close to either of my parents, I did reach out to my dad and I told him, I've been to A&E, I can't cope, I feel like I want to kill myself, I'm suicidal and I'm scared and I don't know how to look after myself and I don't feel responsible enough to look after my son. Help me, please, what can you do? And he basically told me that, well, to quote, his hands were tired, he gave me £20 note and walked out the door. So I tried antidepressants very briefly, had horrible side effects for them, so I wasn't on them for very long. I eventually got some CBT therapy, which I don't know how helpful it would have been at the time if I'd had it sooner, but it just didn't help me very well. So when someone is that far depressed, telling them, next time you have an anxiety attack on a bus, here's a worksheet, and when you're having your anxiety attack, pull out your worksheet from your back pocket and rate from 1 to 10 how bad it was, and think about, should you really be having an anxiety attack right now? What's truth and what's black and white thinking? I mean, no offence to any other therapists. I have a great respect for all types of therapists. I use a tiny little sprinkling of CBT in my crystal transpersonal therapy sometimes, but that alone wasn't enough to help me. And as I got better, I couldn't help but think, God, is that all we've got? Is that all we've got to help people? Go on the pills, have some CBT. So I found I found spirituality. Crystals were really the only thing that really helped me, and I can't say that they helped me get back to my old self, because they were completely supportive in me breaking into a million pieces and building me back together again in just a completely different, and I would say more authentic and better version of myself that I am today. So it gave me a complete change of life direction, path, purpose, and now this mission of mine, which is to help others. So if you have tried the CBT before and it hasn't worked for you, or you don't want to be on antidepressants for the rest of your life, I'm not anti-antidepressants, before anyone has a go at me for that. I understand that they are completely necessary for a lot of people, and that's absolutely fine. There's no shame in that whatsoever. But they do numb you out and detach you from your own feelings, and suppress all of the emotions and trauma that you have. So it's just getting pushed down inside of you, and one day, if you try to come off those tablets, or even if you don't, one day that's just going to resurface. And do you not want to experience this one life that you have, with your emotions completely on point and not suppressed or numbed out? So even things like psychotherapy, I'll say again, I don't have anything against these types of therapies. Every type of therapy has a use, okay? But what I often see, if people go to see a psychotherapist, like just a psychotherapist, if that's the only way you're going to treat whatever you've got going on in your life, they will do the first step of what I do, which is get to the root cause of the issue, which is great. That's a really important step. So they might say to you, okay, or they might suggest to you, if they don't diagnose you, do you think maybe you are like X because Y happened to you? And then that might be, spot on for someone, and they go, oh yeah, I'm like that because this happened to me. So what happens is, just knowing that doesn't fix the problem. So they're going to go through life, and what happens is they start using it as an excuse. So if they have an anger problem, in a relationship with someone, they're like, oh, we keep arguing, you've got an anger problem. any type of relationship. It can affect work, romantic relationships, friendships, anything. People are going to say, well, you know, I'm like that because this happened to me. I can't help it. I can't help it that this happened to me. That's why I'm like this. So it's an excuse, but you don't actually fix it or heal it. So what happens in crystal transpersonal therapy is that we treat you as a whole. So it's a holistic therapy, as in we're treating you mind, body, spirit and soul. CTT, crystal transpersonal therapy, of which there has been some changes and tweaks too. If you've previously had crystal therapy with me, I will be packaging and carrying it out in a slightly different way, which I'll let you know about at the end. Okay. It's my own unique, powerful system that combines all of my expertise and knowledge, including crystal therapy, crystal healing, energy healing, and vibrational medicine, mixed with transpersonal psychology and coaching. It's rooted in ancient wisdom and spiritual philosophies. Within CTT, we explore ways we can facilitate your own personal growth and ultimately heal wholly and align with peace. Having CTT consistently for a period of time accelerates your healing and your spiritual development. It often follows the pattern. This is something I've realised quite of late. What happens in sessions is identification of the issue, clarification around the issue, exploration of the issue, releasing, rediscovering, and authentication. So that's identification, clarification, exploration, releasing, rediscovering, and being a more authentic self by the end of it. So it means that we peel back all the layers that you have built up over time to reveal the most happy, authentic version of yourself, fully living in your personal power. So CTT is not an invasive therapy. It is natural, it's holistic and complementary. It works by treating each individual. So I have no cookie cutter plans, layouts, worksheets or anything that I, rinse and repeat for people. I really take the time to fully understand you and all your personal circumstances surrounding your story, your life and your issues as an individual. So we factor in spiritual well-being that other therapies don't. So you can come and have crystal therapy, crystal transpersonal therapy with me alongside any other types of therapy that you're having, or you can choose to have it as a standalone therapy if you haven't tried anything, or you've tried it and you're no longer in those. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to have either or. So both crystal transpersonal therapy with me and crystal healing are really good for treating anxiety. Anxiety affects so many people globally today. I'm not sure of the percentage off the top of my head, but it's always increasing. And it affects a lot of areas of your life. It stops you from going out. It stops you from saying yes to things you want to do because you're scared you might get anxiety, or you say yes and then you don't do them, and then you hate yourself for not doing them because you have anxiety, and then you get more anxiety because you hate yourself. So basically it stops you from living the life you want, and it's not very nice to go through anxiety when you have it at the time. So to do that, we have to stop time travelling. That's what we do in crystal transpersonal therapy. If you have anxiety, I help you to stop time travelling, to control your thoughts, to stop attaching to stories that aren't yours. The body doesn't know the difference. When you have anxiety and what it releases in your body, it doesn't know if it's real or not. So that is super, super bad for your immune system as well. So getting your anxiety under check is really important for staying healthy physically as well. So we help you stop projecting false lies onto yourself, detach from those stories, stop thinking about the future, stop thinking about the past, enjoy your life more, being more grounded, more present, more focused, control over where your energy goes. Having anxiety is so emotionally draining, which then leads to being physically drained. you know, the less anxiety you have, the more energy you can have to focus that wherever you want it to go, whatever you want to do with it. You can have better relationships with people, and you just have an overall better quality of life. It's a really important thing that not other people, we know there are people that judge people with anxiety, saying it's not a big deal, but if you are an anxiety sufferer, don't poo it down as something that doesn't need to be worked on just because lots of people have it, or that you feel silly for it. Absolutely, that is something that we can work on and that I can help you with. And if you don't come and have help with me, it's something that, if you're listening to this, let this be the penny that drops, the sign from the universe that you need to go and take some time for yourself and figure out how you're going to get your anxiety under check. And stress, I mean, who doesn't experience stress in this day and age, especially in the west of the world? So stress is really important, okay? It's very similar to anxiety in the way that it can control your life. It kills your dreams. I can't do it because I'm too stressed. You know, I won't start working towards this goal because I'm too stressed, so I'll just sit down and sit in front of a screen, or tell yourself I'm not good enough, or I'm too stressed, and how am I going to fit that into my life, so I won't even start it. It breaks down your relationships with people, others. You know, you snap at people because you're stressed, or you can't make a date, like a with friends date, because you're too stressed about everything, or I can't fit that in that day because I've got this going on, that going on, it's too stressful. It stunts your personal growth because you're too stressed, you can't read that book, you're too stressed, you can't do this or that you want to do, and ultimately it robs you of peace and joy. Every moment of your life you should strive to have as a peaceful and joyful moment. And if you're stressed, you can't achieve that. So, crystal healing, you know, you don't have to have any major issues at all to enjoy crystal healing. It's not just about, you know, dealing with people's issues. You booking regular crystal healing sessions with me is like, it's taking sacred self time for yourself. It's like a sacred ceremony. So it lowers your stress levels, obviously, but it's that having that commitment to self-care and that accountability from you've booked a session with me and you have to force yourself to go. You practice good energetic hygiene for your subtle body. So just think of having regular crystal healing sessions as like gym for your subtle body and spa for your soul, and reverse of all the pain points that I mentioned earlier. So it's the reverse of you know, not going, taking that course or whatever because you're too stressed and we're hanging to fit it all in. So it's equally as important. Stress is a big deal. Just like anxiety, it can lead to physical ailments, and it can trigger physical ailments. If you have long-term illnesses or diseases, things like IBS or Crohn's disease, anything to do with the stomach, both anxiety and stress always seem to go around that area. So just having crystal healing can help you manage those. Even if you don't want to go through crystal transpersonal therapy because you're not ready to dig deep, to look at yourself, to go through that. So you want to lose weight, you know you're going to go to the gym, you know you're going to sweat, you know you're going to ache, you know it's not going to be easy, it's going to be hard physically, but in the end the body is rewarded, you are rewarded, and we have to start thinking on these kind of levels for our mental, emotional bodies as well. So let's talk through now some of the limiting beliefs you might have. So say you're interested in having any of these crystal healing or crystal therapy with me, but you're sitting there and you're thinking, it won't work for me. So that is a limiting belief that you have, and that's not a fact. If you've never tried it before, how do you know? And if you've had it elsewhere, trust me when I say, I don't mean this as an ego big-headed thing, but it's not going to be the same. Everyone is different, okay? Everyone's therapies are different. So if you're thinking this based on the fact that you have lots of crystals at home, you can do this yourself, or they haven't worked for you because you have them at home, think about what have you done with them. First of all, have you cleansed them? Have you charged them? Have you programmed with them intent? Have you listened to them before you did that? Have you had conversations with your crystals? And have you done that consistently more than once or twice? And have you done that intentionally to work on a particular issue? So it can be very hard to master that at home. I find it hard still. I've got 2 young children. I don't live in the most quietest of areas. It's hard to find quiet, to focus, to relax, and meditate. So when you come to have a session with me, you're coming outside of your home into somewhere else where you can feel more relaxed. You haven't got to worry about the washing up or the laundry or the housework that hasn't been done. So it's easier to completely switch off and give yourself permission to relax in that type of setting. So just that alone is a really good reason to book a session and come in for one. So seeing an expert like me, that's my job. That's what you're paying me for. I can unlock the potential codes of those crystals that they hold. And one of the most powerful ways to benefit from the energies of crystals is through grids. And think about what happens in a session, the laying on of stones in the body, that sacred art of laying on stones. Pretty much are lots of multiple different grids all over the body, but they need to be precise. They need to be in precise places, in particular energy points on the body. I'm creating grids all over your body, and I'm using the Crystalpedia of my brain, so I cross-reference crystal properties with a million different other factors. Some of those things I teach in workshops to other people as well, but there's more than just learning what a crystal does from its book to warrant to decide whether you're going to use it for a particular reason or not. So I do all that in my brain, and I have to take into consideration how these crystals on your body in different grid layouts are going to be affected to the other crystals on your body around as well, how they're all going to interplay on each other. So it really, really is an art form, a skill, a very hard skill. I've been doing this for about 7 years now. It goes far, far beyond chakra points, and we'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. So yeah, I'm deeply connected to all of my work tools and colleagues, which are my crystals. And everything is bespokely done in a session, so there's no pre-made layouts. So if you say, I read something in a book, or I saw a layout online and I bought those exact crystals and I lay down on my bed and I plonked those crystals on myself and it didn't work, so therefore it's not going to work for me. It's kind of not really the same situation. Even if you did go through the whole cleanse, charge, programming, all of that malarkey with your own crystals, it's still harder to do the energy healing part on yourself. So that is what you would pay someone like me to do. So working with me is bridging the gap between you gaining the full potential from healing crystals. So the other 2 reasons, limiting beliefs that people might hold back from coming to have sessions with me are, I can't afford it, or I don't understand how it works, and there's no evidence. So that brings us to the most exciting part of this video, where we're going to talk through a little bit about how crystals work. There's no scientific evidence that crystals have healing powers towards humans. My darlings, this is a belief that you have and not a fact. Crystals are the original pharmaceuticals. Crystals are made up of elements, so think about the periodic table. Many of these elements occur naturally in our bodies anyway, or are taken in modern medicine even today. So for example, if you've seen my video on the Caribbean blue calcite, you'll note that I mentioned calcium carbonate. found in crystals such as calcite, limestone, aragonite. These are all found in Rennies. They're basically what anti-acid tablets are. They're just calcium carbonate. Crystals such as petalite, kunzite and lepidolite and lithium quartz obviously contain lithium. Literally, it's like one of the ingredients in antidepressants today. The medicinal use of crystals and gemstones is present in some way in practically every ancient culture and civilization in recorded history. So think about Ayurveda, the world's first holistic medicine system. They literally used to just crush up and grind down some rubies, and there was other ingredients in milks and things, but they used the crystals as medicine in more ways than one. So how do you know that when we go on about programming crystals within 10 as an integral part of crystal healing, how do you know that's true? Okay, so let's look at technology. Here's a quote from Wired magazine. The chemical properties of a piece of quartz are a bit of an embarrassment to the average hard drive. So what we're talking about is the fact that quartz can hold billions times more data for billions of years. And I will link this back around to how we can prove the intention records in a second. But first, let's just briefly look at where else crystals are used in our modern technology, okay? So quartz conducts piezoelectricity, meaning when it's put under pressure it creates an electrical charge which can be focused. So this effect can also be used in reverse. So by applying an electrical charge to the crystal, it converts electrical energy into mechanical energy. This technology is used in sonar, ultrasound for babies, radios, transistors, computers, computer chips, and digital watches, as well as quartz watches, obviously. So they're also used in amplifiers, in electric guitars, microphones, and most digital electronic devices, to be honest. So they can produce a small electrical charge, creating a small spark, so things that they use to ignite gas appliances, ovens, grills, heaters, and even lighters. Okay, but it's not just quartz crystals that are used in technologies. So we have pyrite and galena that are used in radio transmitters. They were used to build the first ever radio. We have silicon crystals that are used in every computer, tablet, cell phone, LCD, liquid crystal displays. And it wasn't until the 1960s that they used ruby crystals in the development of the first lasers, and they still use those today because rubies have an innate ability to focus energy. So let's talk about one of the people who have scientifically proven that crystals can hold an intention. We already know they can record because we've looked at how they do that scientifically. So Marcel Vogel was a research scientist who worked for IBM for 27 years. During that time, he invented and patented so many things, such as specific hard drives. He was awarded honorary doctorate for several inventions and papers on his research. So you can safely feel good about yourself that this is not some quack we're talking about, okay? So what he's famous for is inventing a certain, what you might call a cut of crystal, called the Vogel crystal. But what he proved was the crystal's ability to record intent. And you can also reassure yourself that Marcel Vogel himself was a bit of a skeptic to start with, okay? He left IBM because he started to realise the power of crystals. And this is a quote for himself. "I wish at all times in this work to remain a scientist, to be focused in thought to achieving truth, and not a mass of illusion, because one can be lost in a quagmire of information which has no substance to it. It is our intuition that guides us. It comes from a higher power. To look for that, but not for this, because in this haystack are a few needles, and I'm going to now show you some of these needles." So you can research this yourself and watch videos with your own eyes about this. Marcel Vogel used intense thought form to project an image of the Black Madonna into a Vogel crystal, which he was then able to record onto a liquid crystal sensor. And I also adore this next quote by Marcel Vogel, because it speaks to what I always tell people. When people tell me they've bought a crystal and they kept it in their pocket or their handbag or their bra and they felt worse or nothing happened, I always tell them you need to have some kind of thought interaction, mental interaction with a crystal. So if you went to see a therapist and you both sat there in the room and didn't talk to each other, there was no mental engagement, nothing is going to happen, nothing's going to get resolved. So particularly if you buy a crystal that is quartz is an amplifier. If you haven't cleansed and programmed that and set that with intention, it's just going to amplify whatever shit you've got going on in your life. When it is precisely cut to the proper geometric form, and when the human mind enters into relationship with its structural perfection in the vibration of love, the crystal emits a vibration which extends and amplifies the power and grasp of the user's mind. Imaged thought intent is amplified. Being able to project this thought and record it so you can see it with the human eye basically just proves the next following quote. Crystals hold frequencies from our consciousness and the quantum field, including sound, prayer, thoughts, and intentions, and then ground or crystallize these vibrations into form and structure in this three-dimensional reality. The crystal lattice stores the high frequency consciousness vibration and transmits it into the quantum field, where it is amplified holographically to magnetically gravitate resonating electromagnetic frequencies to manifest your desired outcome in the current space and time reality. Another person to note and research further if you're interested is the late Dr. Masaru Emoto. So even though Dr. Emoto did not research directly on gemstones and crystals, he further proved everything that we just looked at in the previous example of Marcel Vogel. So Dr. Emoto carried out research on the true nature of water crystals. He discovered that snowflakes have a natural geometric structure and that no two snowflakes are the same. So he came to the conclusion that if snow is made from water, then water should be able and capable of performing geometric structures, and went out to carry research on this phenomenon. What Dr. Emoto discovered was astounding. He discovered that the vibration of words, so sound and frequencies, had a direct effect on the geometric structure of water crystals. By playing different types of sounds, it was found that happy, joyous music would have a positive effect on the geometric formation of water crystals, whereas sad, depressing, or heavy, meaning low vibration, music would have a negative effect on the formation of crystals. The experiments were also carried out simply by labelling jars of water with certain words such as love, peace, hate, and war. It was found that the crystal formation of water responded positively to words like love and peace, and responded negatively to words such as hate and war, as though the water knew the meaning of those words. So further experiments were conducted using human thought, prayer, and intent, and the very same results were achieved. It was found that the human consciousness, prayer, and intent had a direct effect on the crystalline makeup of the water molecules. For further evidence with your own eyes, we can look to Michael Geiger, who features in the Crystal Visions documentary, which is a superb documentary about the healing powers of crystals, and you can watch that for free on YouTube. And in this, he proves that crystals have a healing effect on humans, and most notably on their energetic field, so meaning their aura. So what he does in the documentary is they hook people up to a computer which uses a software program that measures the changes in the subject's energy field in real time. The demonstration clearly shows changes being made in the auric field, that's the energetic field around everyone that we all have, by simply placing a crystal on the back of someone's hand. Of course, this is also relevant to the alleged chakra system used by the human body, which can technically also be detected and confirmed in the same way. Now, we've spoken about the use of crystals in modern day technology. Let's take it back to stones and look at this image and look at ancient technology. Now, I just need to explain what this image is, and that's pretty much self-explanatory. The above image you're seeing is the image of a motherboard inside a computer, modern day PC. The bottom is a map of Kemet, ancient Egypt. The buildings in the map in ancient Egypt, the buildings are made out of stones. Stones, minerals. They're not made out of wood, they're made out of stones, because stones are the key to harnessing various forms of power. So we're all aware that the use of crystals and gemstones appear everywhere in history. So we're talking indigenous shamanic healers, Vedic sages, Egyptian pharaohs, Buddhist teachers, Jewish mystics, high priests, Christian, Kabbalah, alchemists, everyone. Think about Islam. They go, part of their pilgrimage, the name escapes me, but it's a big stone. It's a sacred mineral. A holy site built in a geometric shape that's made of limestone, black stone, different rocks, marble, and is plated in silver, a metal, an earth element, just like stones. And this is for the same reason that initiations and things of that like are often undertaken inside caves. This is why people go to the mountains. What is a mountain? It's a really big rock. People have spiritual experiences in the mountains. And don't get me wrong, you can have spiritual experiences in the woods, with plants and nature, but stones help you reach consciousness outside of what is the norm for humans. Let's take a look at the difference between plants and crystals and stones. Everywhere people go to experience something outside of the confines of the self, there is stones and crystals. We talked about that a minute ago with mountains and caves, but let's also think about stone temples, all sacred holy sites. Buildings, they're made out of stones. Metals are just as important as crystals and minerals and stones. The elements just the same. Think about all of those buildings that have antenna, these little things on top of them. That's because they're trying to call in higher energy frequencies. It's not a fluke. Why are tombstones and gravestones made out of stones instead of wood? Wood and trees can last for thousands of years, but it's the stones that are seen as sacred. Stones are the bridges that access higher dimensions, different realms and frequencies of time and space. So from a Taoist perspective, they see stones as speaking the language of the soul, as healing tools for soul level issues, whereas they see plants and plant life and trees as things for the spirit. They see stones as master seeds, so everything comes from these master seeds. So plants give us so much, but they are seeded and nurtured and fed by the grandmother earth medicine of stones and minerals and crystals. That is what lays beneath our earth. That's what our soils are made out of, and that is what the plants grow from. Therefore, plants and plant medicine is for your primary experience, your mid to surface level healing of the spirit, day to day, month to month type healing, whereas stones and crystals, that hold all the potential in such a small space are for mid to deeper level healing and issues. So we're talking about genetic issues, we're talking about unconscious, hidden, year to lifetime things that need to be healed. They're the seeds under the surface, bringing us the hidden, bringing that to light, speaking the language of the soul. So I'm not going to go deep into it in this video, but we ourselves have a crystalline structure internally. We have craniosacral fluid in our brain, and we have actual crystals in our pineal glands, specifically calcite, apatite and magnetite crystals inside our pineal gland. And let's not forget that we are made up of approximately 60% water, which is another reason why we are so susceptible to stone elixirs and gem waters, and why us as human beings resonate so well with crystals and stones in general. So I've also just realised I haven't said my name in this entire video. Hi everyone, I'm Bianca Eleanor, crystal therapist of CTT and Crystal Therapies. So back to CTT, there has been some changes. That's crystal transpersonal therapy. If you've had that with me in the past, you'll know that sometimes I set homework. You'll probably be one of those people that never does the homework. You're missing out on tons of value there. Sometimes I give it, sometimes I don't. That's flaky on my part. So we're going to rectify that. We're also rectified by making this more of a structured package. The issue of me having a lot of clients and wanting to give you that extra time and support, and having time for everybody without that merging into my own time and personal life, and me being on complete burnout and no use to anyone. So that as well. So what we're going to do, and what CTT is, it's incredible value, and it's the same as having a counsellor, a healer, a coach and a therapist all in one. So 20-minute pre-assessment, okay, so that's via phone, via email, via video call, Skype, Zoom, or in person if you're local to me, and we have available time slots that are good for both of us. So we do that 20-minute pre-assessment session, and that's kind of like a counselling session where I'm going to ask you questions about your life. If you're not comfortable opening up to me, if you don't know me that well, it's completely fine. You don't have to answer every question I have. You simply say pass, or I'm not ready to talk about that yet. It's absolutely fine. And they're not really in-depth questions anyway, but I understand that everyone has different personal limits. So that's not scary. It's really informal. I'm not scary. And just that alone for a lot of people is really, really helpful. They feel like they get a load off just telling someone about what's going on and the issues in their life. So we have that. Crystal transpersonal therapy is a 60+ minute crystal therapy session. There's a slight price increase, and that is to warrant if it goes over 60 minutes or not in a session, which we often do. And then it's very stressful for me because there's other clients coming in next. I work out of rooms where there's several therapists using these rooms. Someone might have an appointment. I have to pack up my crystals. They have to be individually wrapped. And I end up having to pay more for rent on the rooms. So 60+ minutes is factored into the price of the treatment now, okay? You get a mini reading at the end of the session. It's not a full tarot spread. It's usually with oracle cards, usually crystal cards, but you know, the value of that I see people charge £15 for, okay, just that. Then I'm going to give you, after your session, when we go home, I'm going to do some digital coaching and an action plan for you based on the findings of the session. I'm going to write up the findings of the session for you. I'm going to send you a really easy to see sheet, and if you've had more than one treatment, you'll be able to see what's improved, what's changed, what hasn't in your scores in different areas of your life. And as I said, you're going to get an action plan, which would, you know, often include bits of homework. It's individual, So I don't have, like I said, presets for anything, okay? I'm going to treat you as an absolute, you're individual, you're unique to anyone else I've ever seen, okay? And then we're going to have, 7 days later, we're going to have a 20-minute check-in session. Okay, so again, that's going to be by phone, video call, email, or in person. And you can talk to me about anything you're having problems with, anything that hasn't or has happened, basically, just, you know, anything you want. And then we can go from there on whether you need to book in another session, when you want to book in another session. And you don't have to consistently have crystal transpersonal therapy. You can switch between therapy and healing. You know, if we've resolved an issue and there's absolutely, you know, nothing else that you want to go through, you can, you know, switch to healing, come back for therapy if something else arises. Some of the things that we go through in crystal transpersonal therapy, and you will see that these have been taken off my services list because these will only be carried out as part of crystal transpersonal therapy now with me. So some of the common themes that come up for people in CTT, crystal transpersonal therapy, that we dive deeper into are inner child healing, ancestral healing, DNA activation, spirit guides, finding your spirit animals, your power animals, karmic healing, womb healing, soul retrieval, and past life regression. So I've never offered past life regression as a separate service because I carry it out very different to many other therapists. Basically everything that I learn, every modality and skill that I learn that I'm qualified in, I bring it back and incorporate it into this CTT, where it has crystals at the base or as a helping hand. But, you know, if someone's just interested to know what they were in a past life, you get regressed and you know that's that. You know, I like to go the step further and we talk about how that's still affecting you in this life, and we break the bonds of time. And we do therapy around healing past life issues that I've carried through. So it's a little bit more in depth, and sometimes it will, you know, flow over to more than one session. So I've also just realised I haven't said my name in this entire video. Hi everyone, I'm Bianca Eleanor, crystal therapist of CTT and Crystal Therapies. So back to CTT, there has been some changes. That's crystal transpersonal therapy. If you've had that with me in the past, you'll know that sometimes I set homework. You'll probably be one of those people that never does the homework. You're missing out on tons of value there. Sometimes I give it, sometimes I don't. That's flaky on my part. So we're going to rectify that. We're also rectified by making this more of a structured package. The issue of me having a lot of clients and wanting to give you that extra time and support, and having time for everybody without that merging into my own time and personal life, and me being on complete burnout and no use to anyone. So that as well. So what we're going to do, and what CTT is, it's incredible value, and it's the same as having a counsellor, a healer, a coach and a therapist all in one. So 20-minute pre-assessment, okay? So that's via phone, via email, via video call, Skype, Zoom, or in person if you're local to me, and we have available time slots that are good for both of us. So we do the 20-minute pre-assessment session, and that's kind of like a counselling session where I'm going to ask you questions about your life. If you're not comfortable opening up to me, if you don't know me that well, it's completely fine. You don't have to answer every question I have. You simply say pass, or I'm not ready to talk about that yet. It's absolutely fine. And they're not really in-depth questions anyway, but I understand that everyone has different personal limits. So that's not scary. It's really informal. I'm not scary. And just that alone for a lot of people is really, really helpful. They feel like they get a load off just telling someone about what's going on and the issues in their life. So we have that. Crystal transpersonal therapy is a 60+ minute crystal therapy session. There's a slight price increase, and that is to warrant if it goes over 60 minutes or not in a session, which we often do. And then it's very stressful for me because There's other clients coming in next. I work out of rooms where there's several therapists using these rooms. Someone might have an appointment. I have to pack up my crystals. They have to be individually wrapped. And I end up having to pay more for rent on the rooms. So 60 plus minutes is factored into the price of the treatment now, okay? You get a mini reading at the end of the session. It's not a full tarot spread. It's usually with oracle cards, usually crystal cards, but you know, the value of that I see people charge £15 for, okay? Just that. Then I'm going to give you, after your session, when we go home, I'm going to do some digital coaching and an action plan for you based on the findings of the session. I'm going to write up the findings of the session for you. I'm going to send you a really easy to see sheet, and if you've had more than one treatment, you'll be able to see what's improved, what's changed, what hasn't in your scores in different areas of your life. And as I said, you're going to get an action plan, which would, you know, often include bits of homework. It's individual, so I don't have, like I said, presets for anything, okay? I'm going to treat you as an absolute, you're individual, you're unique to anyone else I've ever seen, okay? And then we're going to have, 7 days later, we're going to have a 20-minute check-in session, okay? So again, that's going to be by phone, video call, email, or in person. And you can talk to me about anything you're having problems with, anything that hasn't or has happened, basically, just, you know, anything you want, and then we can go from there on whether you need to book in another session, when you want to book in another session. And you don't have to consistently have crystal transpersonal therapy. You can switch between therapy and healing. You know, if we've resolved an issue and there's absolutely, you know, nothing else that you want to go through, you can, you know, switch to healing, come back for therapy if something else arises. Some of the things that we go through in crystal transpersonal therapy, and you will see that these have been taken off my services list because these will only be carried out as part of crystal transpersonal therapy now with me. Inner child healing, ancestral healing, DNA activation, spirit guides, finding your spirit guides, finding your spirit animals, your power animals, karmic healing, womb healing, soul retrieval, and past life regression. So I've never offered past life regression as a separate service because I carry it out very different to many other therapists. Basically everything that I learn, every modality and skill that I learn that I'm qualified in, I bring it back and incorporate it into this CTT, where it has crystals at the base or as a helping hand. But you know, if someone's just interested to know what they were in a past life, you get regressed and you know that's that. You know, I like to go the step further and we talk about how that's still affecting you in this life, and we break the bonds of time, and we do therapy around healing past life issues that I've carried through. So it's a little bit more in depth, and sometimes it will, you know, flow over to more than one session. So who is crystal transpersonal therapy best for? It's best for depression sufferers, people that are processing grief, people that are suffering anxiety, although anxiety can also be treated well in crystal healing. PTSD, if you're feeling lost, unmotivated, if you just want personal development and growth, and you know, a bit of self-discovery, breaking negative thinking patterns, CBT alternative or addition to if you're taking CBT, keeping you in alignment, ridding guilt, managing addiction, and a holistic addition, you know, in addition to anything else that you're doing to get rid of addiction. If you have seasonal affective disorder, and basically just if you want to harmonise your relationships with those people around you, just have better relationships. Those are the things that I would recommend CTT for over crystal healing. So book some CTT if you want to feel happier and peaceful and balanced. You want to treat your whole self as a whole being, so meaning your body, mind and your soul. You want to realise things that have been holding you back in your life. You want to work on releasing old emotional wounds rather than burying them for later. You want to gain clarity and purpose around goals and set future goals. You want to improve your relationships with others, and you just want to deepen your relationship and connection to yourself. Those are really good reasons to come for CTT, Crystal Transpersonal Therapy. So the new package of CTT, we're going to have a 20-minute pre-assessment session, the 60+ minute crystal therapy session, a mini reading, an email of your findings from that session, where it's going to include all the names of the crystals and all sorts, a digital coaching and action plan for you based on what's happened in that session and what we're aiming for, and then a 20-minute check-in session 7 days later. So that is the same and equivalent as having a counsellor, a healer and a coach all in one. All that is going to cost you is £60. So for everyone who's sitting there thinking, I can't afford it, just know that if it is in alignment and you are my soul client, there will be a way for you to afford it. So if you think that's expensive, think about what it will cost you if you don't have the therapy. So emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and even financially, what is it going to cost you if you don't get the support and guidance that you need? If you don't grow into your most authentic and healthy version of yourself, that one that you imagine in your dreams, I wish I could just be like this, that's not going to manifest overnight by itself. Sometimes it's, and it's completely fine. You need support and guidance and accountability, and that's what I'm here for, offering you. Money-wise, if it's in alignment and you're my soul client, you will definitely end up working with me. Make it as affordable to everybody in every circumstance as I can. I do have concessions if you are on universal credit, but you will need to show me evidence of that. And other than that, put it into perspective of what else you pay out for in your life, how important it is. If you don't manage stress, are you going to be able to cope at your job for another year? Are you going to have to quit your job? Is that going to affect you financially? Is it going to affect your relationships if you don't get certain things sorted out? That is what it's worth. That is how you have to think about it, okay? That is what it's worth. If you're just coming for crystal healing and that doesn't require more of my time, more of booking out of a room, that is a digital pre-assessment, a 60-minute session, a mini reading, and an email of findings with a little bit of advice. But it's a lot less one-to-one support, one-to-one time with me. I really scaled back on the depth of it, but it's still very, very good for anything physical that you're treating. If it's more of a physical than an emotional or mental, then crystal healing is the one that you want to take. So crystal healing is best for anybody who's suffering with fertility issues, sleep issues, pain management, cellular regeneration. So if you've got a physical illness or you're recovering from something, that's really good for that. Relaxation, if you're just coming for a lovely time, sacred self-ceremony time, self-care time. Keeping your aura free from attachments, leaks and holes, any hormonal issues, general stress relief, balancing your lymphatic system, identifying causes of disease. So I may be able to identify energetic imbalances in your subtle body that might be a cause and reason of physical ailments for you. Just looking after your subtle body in general. So yes, crystal healing is completely safe for pregnant people. I have done sessions with children in the past, but you will need an adult present in the room. So book some crystal healing if you want to feel emotionally balanced, you want to feel calmer, you want to sleep better, you want to feel more vitalised, you want to manage flare-ups of illnesses. So if you have a long-term condition like fibromyalgia or something, or you want to manage flare-ups of IBS, regular crystal healing sessions would be great for that. You just want to take time out, again, like I said before. It can still improve your relationships with others based on a stress management, anxiety management level. Obviously anxiety, as I mentioned before. So crystal healing can help manage diabetes, blood pressure, eye problems, stomach related issues, pregnancy related ailments, arthritis, fibromyalgia, Crohn's disease, back pain and similar. Okay. And the price for your crystal healing session with me, with digital pre-assessment, a 60-minute session, mini reading, and an email findings with advice, not as heavy on the one-to-one, in-depth therapy work, action plans, counselling, coaching, not as in-depth as that as CTT, but crystal healing session is £45.